Okay then, so this is going to go through and break down exactly how you can go and create 100 plus UGCs a month profitably, okay? The reason why you need to be doing this at scale, whether you're on TikTok or Facebook, you want to have enough to basically run with so you can obviously start to test a lot quicker, get a lot more data and start to scale. Because realistically right now, when it comes to creative, what does heavy lifting is we all know in terms since post iOS 14, audiences and targeting are a lot more harder. So your creative has got to call out your audience, as simple as that. So it's still interesting to me when I see so many brands, so many marketers literally kind of flake out when it comes to the actual content creation side of things and don't spend as much time or as much investment money-wise in terms of actually spending and actually getting the creative done. Because realistically, like a rule of thumb, we kind of say a minimum 20% of your budget, your media budget, should be spent on actual content, as simple as that. Because if you're not tested, you're not finding what works, then honestly, you're probably going to struggle. And this is where a lot of brands find it harder to. They blame it on the media buyer, they blame it on agency, they blame it on the product, everything like that. But if you get this right, this will obviously take your brand, your ads to the next level. So it's called 100 plus UGCs, but you obviously use this formula, you can create 200, 300, 500, as many as you want, and at the same time get results. So the first things first, you're probably wondering is, why do you actually need 100 plus UGCs created per month? And the number obviously is, it's a clickbaity number and stuff like that. But the fact is, the more you have, the more you can scale. So if you're doing 10, you get less data, less sales, stuff like that. So the more you have, the better. And the main reason for this, I say 100, is because realistically, you have to understand when you're running ads, you have basically a 50-50 chance of success. It's simple as that. It's like a coin toss when it comes to ads, because when you post an ad, when you've obviously gone through your foundation, in terms of like your burn night strategy and everything like that, once you set that ad live, in terms of you have no previous data on that ad, you don't know if that's going to work or not, because literally what you think is good, the audience might not think is good. So you literally got a 50-50 chance of your creative working. So just imagine that's the case, and you're obviously working with UGC creators right now, and you're say this is what you kind of get from them. So again, I don't need to disrespect any platforms or anything like this, but if you go to platforms like Billo, example, you'd send them a brief, and then the creator will come back with a video where it's 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds long. And 9 times out of 10, you have a hook that they've gone with, and you've got a call to action. They're the two main parts. But then everything in the middle, it can be confusing. It can be a mixture of stuff. You don't really know what's going on in the middle. So it's kind of like a question mark in terms of this. So you think you've got this option here. Okay, so you spent $50 on a piece of creative on Billo. You're like, okay, great. It looks good. Is it going to work? But if you've got 50% chance of working, in an ideal scenario, like say 50-50 is ideal. And let's just say you spent $50 on per ad, you spent $200 an ad, okay? So realistically, if you've gone live with your ads, again, like say across TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you've posted it, 2 have probably done well, 2 have not done well, okay? So that's great. But then where do you go from here? Okay, so yes, your ad's working well, but then once you start to spend more money on it, start to scale it, start to get fatigued, then what happens, okay? Because realistically with this ad here, you've got a body that you can't really chop up or anything like that. You've got your hook and your call to action, you've probably got one of each. Then what do you do? Okay, so that's the first element. But then the fact is, yes, you have 50% chance of succeeding, but you could flip a coin 4 times, okay? And it doesn't mean 4 times you're gonna get like 2 heads, 2 tails. You could all of a sudden also get 4 lots of tails, okay? So imagine if you did again spend $200 on your content, and at the same time, all 4 of them failed. What do you do then? Well, first you're gonna be angry because you're like, oh, $200 down the drain, nothing's working, and then you're back to drawing board. Then obviously you're scampering around in terms of like trying to figure out what's the next step. So this is what happens to a lot of brands right now. A lot of accounts that we audit and take on board, we see that a lot of ads are not performing. So like, yes, it's 50% of chance of it working, but at the same time, if your ad is not right, you are going to struggle. So this is what you have to kind of look towards when you're actually creating content. And I call it like the Lego method, or like say the modular method, because realistically with Lego, it's all about stacking. So I read a good stat basically. It's like if you had this here, which is a 4x2 piece of Lego, and you had 6 pieces, I believe it was something along the lines of how many different ways could you actually stack the 6 pieces of Lego. And I think it was just one form of stacking, which would have been straight up. And like I say, maybe you can put 2 on 1 or something like that. But apparently it was 100,000 different ways of stacking 4x2, 4x2 pieces of Lego. And that's interesting. And it got me thinking, because it's the same when it comes to actual content. So you're probably thinking, what's I got to do with actually creating content? So this is it really. So you've got to basically think of your pieces of content as Lego pieces, modular pieces, okay? So rather than, like I say, going to a creator and getting your hook, well, a video that basically will, like I say, comprise of a hook, a body, and call to action, you need to be thinking differently. You need to be thinking and going to your creators and saying, okay, look, we don't want you to create a full video for us. We want you literally just to create videos, separate videos, and we'll do all the rest of it. And with that, you have more flexibility. So you say to them, okay, yeah, we need to have 4 different hooks. So 4 different hooks could be, let's just say, for example, TikTok made me buy this, 3 reasons why to buy X, this, let's say, product X, summer edition, stuff like that. Okay, your hooks, different problems, different intros, different demos, USPs, call to actions. And this can only happen, and I'm taking a step back here, this can only work if you've basically built out a great strategy and you know exactly what your client's problems, what your customers' problems are. You can have different demos and obviously introducing the product and your USP. So you have to have different variations of this. So this goes back to, again, it's not just the briefing the actual content creator, but it's obviously going away and actually building out that foundation. And I always say, once you build out strategy, there'll be a video that will be up here that you can check in terms of how to kind of build out your strategy. Once you've got that done correctly, it will allow you to then have all these pieces of Lego, as I like to call it. So when you look at this, so let's just imagine, okay, you've got your pieces, you've got then a video editor who's basically put it all together. Great, you're good to go. So this is how like the first piece of work, the first piece of content. So you make it live. Again, you've got 50% chance of it working, okay? But guess what? If it doesn't work, we can then swap out the hook, because maybe we look at our numbers, look at our data, and we see people are dropping off on the first 3 seconds. So that necessarily doesn't mean that the rest of the video is bad, which means the hook may be bad. So again, we can swap that out. Whereas previously, you would maybe have to go back to that, back to Billo and say, look, can we just change the video and maybe pay a bit more for that? Or maybe, like say, create a whole video again. But this way you don't have to, because your video editor will literally edit out the parts that are not working. So again here, option 2, hook 2, we can literally add that in there. Or maybe, let's say, people are getting all the way through the video and we've seen a drop off. So again, we're engaging them, our hold rate's good, but they're not converting, they're dropping off. So we can then change the call to action. Or then maybe we think, okay, hook 1 works well, but let's just change our USP and demo around, because maybe they need to show USP first for the demo. Or we maybe, like I say, we just take out that demo, shorten that video completely. So straight away, you can see here, 5 different variations. And if you look here, we've literally only used version 1 of each of these and maybe a version 2 call to action there. So all of a sudden now you can see how you're creating over multiple pieces of content that you can test over and over again, because these platforms need a lot of content for it to work. It's as simple as that. So if you can start to build it out like this and structure a lot more useful, a lot more easier, this is how you do it. This is a whole concept to do it. So you're probably now thinking, okay, so how do you go about getting these Lego pieces? So this is how you kind of do it. So I'm going to show you exactly what you do when it comes to actually briefing your content creator. Okay, so here I've got an example of a creative guidelines, kind of like our storyboard, what we send over to content creators. So again, if you're working with content creators, your aim is you don't, and I don't say this to be like say bad or anything, but you don't want to give the content creator too much when it comes to actually being able to manage the whole process in terms of like the edits and stuff like that. You want to have that in-house, where like say your brand or your agency, you want to be doing that in-house. So again, you've got more flexibility and you can utilize and do a lot more with that. So this is kind of how you do it. This is an example of one of the brands we've worked with. You've probably seen it in some of the other videos on my YouTube channel. This is how you kind of do it. So you kind of break it down into these modular pieces. So again, you've got, for example, your hook, 3 different hooks here that would basically say the content creator. So one that could be, and again, this is one we've actually done. If this is you, stop right now. Today's your last time you use Razor. Here's free from So these are some of the hooks, that kind of options that we tried, because again, we wanted multiple different hook options. So this is how I've kind of done it. We've got the action, and obviously these are guidances. Obviously in some cases, like it will be scripted, but we try and stay away from scripts, because we always say realistically, when you're briefing content creators, what you write down as a script, they might read it differently and it might come across differently. So you want to give them guidance, but again, don't be scripting out. And then again, we have resource examples, which again, you can see through the videos, just to give them an idea. And throughout, then we literally just have each action. So each action is basically whether it's like the USP, the demo, stuff like that. So again, here we've got the problem, obviously the guidance, introducing the product, benefits, another product intro down here, USPs. So we've got different USPs here throughout. It's the 4 in this one here. and then 4 call to action. So straight away, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Obviously, we have a few different variations there. So we've got about 13, 14 pieces of like unedited files that we can actually play with just from this piece of content. And now you can start to see this is the difference. So a lot of brands, like say, and we have the same ones one time, we literally would go to a content creator and we say, just create the whole ad forwards. We'd send them a brief over, we'd send them a storyboard, they'll create it. But then obviously what would happen is, yes, the ads could work, but then like say 50-50 chance, some ads didn't work. So we had to figure out a way what was different in terms of being able to control more the narrative from a content production side of things. And obviously because we know these platforms are volatile and stuff will work, some stuff will not work. And that's kind of how you do it. So hope that all makes sense. Like I say, it's all broken down. Like I say, if that all makes sense, and like I say, you have any questions in terms of not make sense, drop a comment below. Like I say, I could go through more depth in this. I could bring out a version 2 if anything doesn't make sense on that. So hope you like this. Please subscribe, like I say, because I'll keep putting this content out there. Like I say, if I know you are enjoying this, and like I say, there'll be another video that you can obviously click on to obviously continue to build out some great content, run TikTok ads, and all the good stuff. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.